Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the live game review to our absolutely shocking 2-2 draw against Newcastle United at Goodison Park yesterday. Everton 2-0 up and cruising until 93rd and 93.5 minutes into a game of football with 4 minutes added on in the end, and we still managed to draw the game 2-2. I honestly still am a little bit in disbelief. I still hasn't fully 100% processed. I'm starting to come round with the idea that we probably should accept and expect these things because it's Everton Football Club. Not really accept, but more expect. But I'm still, even when I think about this game, even when I think of, just how easy it was up until the 93rd minute, just how simple we had it. It was probably and arguably our best performance all season. Newcastle didn't really threaten us for the opening 90 minutes of the game. Didn't really have any opportunities on target. They weren't really breaking us down. They weren't really getting at us. And it was one of those games of football, mistakenly probably as an Evertonian, where you're almost sitting back 60, 70 minutes into the game, when we go 2-0 up and you're thinking, come on, I want another one, I want another two, I want us to score 3, 4, 5 here. Let this be the game where we absolutely dominate the team. And Moise Kean comes off, and although he looked really, really tired, and we'll talk about Moise Kean in a second, I thought he was the best player on the pitch in an Everton shirt. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Although he looked tired, there was a little bit guts to see him coming off because I wanted him to go, I wanted him to get another goal, I wanted him to boost his confidence again. Same with Bernard. I mistakenly said on the instant match reaction yesterday that I didn't think Bernard had a great game. It was heat of the moment, I'll admit it. I apologise, I was probably a little bit wrong there. I've since watched the highlights, I've watched the assist for Moise Kean's goal, which is absolutely fantastic. I've seen how well he transitioned when he went into the number 10, and he actually had a pretty decent game. I think I was getting a little bit frustrated with Bernard in terms of the frustration that sort of fed through from the Brighton game, and maybe I'm just expecting a little bit too much from him, but he did have a good game in all fairness, as did Morgan Schneiderlin, who I also forgot to mention in the instant match reaction. But like I said, you're sitting there and you're almost thinking, this is easy, this is an easy 2-0 win. There's no way Newcastle are getting back into this game. Even if they get one, we'll just defend it out and we'll make sure that we're solid and we don't concede again. And he didn't even look like getting one. 85 minutes in, we're still going strong, we're still creating opportunities. Obviously Carlo Ancelotti made some substitutions, which we'll talk about later on in the stream, and whether it's the reason as to why we didn't win the game was due to those substitutions or not. We'll talk about that. And then, like I said, it was just an absolute minute of madness, and it's almost inexplainable. It really, really is almost inexplainable, and that's why, I've seen a lot of people on Twitter today talk about, how, who's to blame, whether it be Ancelotti for the substitutions, whether it be Jordan Pickford. I honestly don't want to blame either or Jordan Pickford or Ancelotti. There needs to be a conversation regarding Jordan Pickford, because I think, one of the aims of the football club, it as highlighted in the AGM for last season, was to bring in, competition for the goalkeeping place and make sure that Jordan Pickford's kept on his toes, and there's competition behind him, pushing him for his place, and that was failed. That was simply failed. Marcel Brand stood up, he spoke about the aims, and he spoke about that one, and it was failed. Jonas Larsson doesn't bring any competition to Jordan Pickford whatsoever. Martin Stecklenberg, obviously, we've seen him play multiple times before. I think I'd rather have an out-of-form Jordan Pickford in goal than Martin Stecklenberg, if I'm being honest with you. And Jonas Larsson has been, shunned from the bench for the last 2 or 3 months. As soon as Duncan Ferguson come into the managerial role, when he took over as interim manager after Marco Silva left, I think we've only seen Jonas Larsson make the substitute bench once since then, and that's been 2 months. So there isn't any competition for Jordan Pickford, and I said on Twitter earlier on, it's almost regardless of whether we think that Jordan Pickford needs to be dropped or should be dropped or isn't playing well enough or maybe his attitude isn't quite right. It doesn't matter, because he's not going to be dropped until we bring in competition for that place. And Everton will try and throw out the whole, we developed the likes of João Virginia, who went out on loan and spent, a decent spell at Reading, although he didn't really play an awful lot there either, come back, and, we brought in Jonas Larsson, but it's all just, papering over the cracks. There's been no competition brought in for Jordan Pickford. He knows that he is in that starting 11 week in, week out, and I actually don't necessarily think that Jordan Pickford was to blame for an awful lot of yesterday. I thought he had a pretty much a solid game, obviously until the last 90 seconds, but I think Jordan Pickford's as much to blame as Morgan Schneiderlin, Tom Davies, a lot of the rest of the team on the pitch, really, because it wasn't just him that absolutely felt a bit, it was the entire side that felt a bit. Fabian Delph lumping a ball up and giving it straight to their centre half when we've just conceded and we've got literally 30 seconds left of a game of football, inviting them to have another chance. Tom Davies jumping in the air at a ball that was nowhere near him when he could have stayed on his feet and timed it a little bit better. Morgan Schneiderlin almost standing round and watching as if he was in the crowd. There's multiple players you could blame in those situations, and I've seen the video of Jordan Pickford and him being behind his line, and the picture of him being behind his line for the second goal, Newcastle's second goal. And you do initially think, well, why is he behind his line? Surely he should be automatically in front of the line. And if he literally is 2 or 3 inches forward, he saves that because it goes straight at him. It's only the fact that he is behind the line and the ball crosses the line before it gets to him. But if you watch the full video, if you watch the full GIF or whatever of that situation, he's flying from pillar to post. The ball hits the post at one point, and then he dives for the shot that is inevitably blocked. But he doesn't know that it's going to be blocked. He's trying to judge where the ball's going, and then I think he just loses his foot. And so I'm of the view that there does need to be a conversation about Jordan Pickford. I think he's let us down a number of times this season. I don't necessarily think yesterday was one of those times, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, or I don't necessarily think he was the only person at fault for yesterday's capitulation. I think you've got to blame pretty much the entire squad and potentially even Carlo Ancelotti, which we'll go on and talk about in a second. But there does need to be a conversation. Even if Jordan Pickford was at the top of his game and he was, playing absolutely unbelievably out of his skin every single week and he was making world-class saves constantly, you still should absolutely have competition for every single place in your team, regardless of who your player is. Players improve when they've got somebody behind them that's pushing them. That is a known fact. It's an absolute known fact. And Jordan Pickford isn't going to improve any more than he is now, whilst he's got goalkeepers behind him that are, barely Premier League proven. One of them's played for a poor Premier League side when they were in the Premier League and got relegated in that season. And one of them's played for Fulham 5, 6, 7, not even that, 8, 10 years ago in the Premier League. The two aging goalkeepers. We haven't got a young up and coming goalkeeper that can challenge Jordan Pickford ideally. Somebody like a Nick Pope who Burnley. You've got even Dean Henderson who Sheffield United have got. I think he's on loan from Manchester United. We haven't got anybody like that to come in and challenge Jordan Pickford, and that's why he'll be in the start 11 for the foreseeable future. And we can sit here and we can talk about how he might need to be dropped and his performances haven't been good enough and his attitude hasn't been good enough. But it's important that Carlo Ancelotti sees that, those mistakes and the board see those mistakes and they bring in a keeper that is good enough to challenge Jordan Pickford, because I'm sorry, the keepers that we currently have at this football club aren't anywhere near good enough to play in the Premier League. And I'm seriously starting to doubt whether Jordan Pickford's good enough to play in a top 6, top 7 side in the Premier League, to be honest with you. And if he's not good enough, then we need to go out there and we need to make purchases. As I said yesterday, for me, obviously the first purchase I'd be making is a central attacking midfielder or a creative midfielder, somebody that can move the ball about, somebody that's a little bit mobile in that midfield, because that midfield again yesterday, credit to Morgan Schneiderlin who played well and was getting about and was putting tackles in, but Fabian Delph I thought was absent again. Tom Davies when he come on was absent. There's even with Morgan Schneiderlin having a decent game and getting himself about and putting in some good tackles and making some decent balls, he still doesn't offer anything creative wise, and that's not his fault. That's just because he's not that type of player. So I think, first and foremost, we need a creative midfielder. And secondly, I'll be looking for a goalkeeper, whether that's a goalkeeper that comes in and starts every week, or whether it's simply a goalkeeper that comes in and is good enough to start every week if Jordan Pickford isn't at the top of his game. But at the minute, we've just got we've got no competition, and that's why Jordan Pickford's in the team, week in, week out, and you can't really blame Carlo Ancelotti for that. Like I said, I don't really want to put too much blame on Carlo Ancelotti because he's only been here for a matter of weeks, and this squad isn't his, and he's playing with a squad with a load of serious injuries, and as weak as it is and as poor as it is anyway, even without the injuries. So I don't really want to put an awful lot of blame on Carlo Ancelotti. We'll talk about the substitutions in just a second, because I think we have to talk about them realistically. Bringing Oumar Niasse on in a game that we didn't need to bring Oumar Niasse on, bringing Tom Davies on as well, who really struggled, taking Bernard off, like some Moise Kean off, etc. Theo Walcott, who I thought didn't do anything. Again, another game where we've watched Theo Walcott beat a defender a couple of times. He put one good ball across the box in the opening 20 minutes and then didn't really do anything else from that point forward, and that's just not good enough in a game of 94 minutes. It's not good enough as a winger to only put one decent ball in the box. But like I said, we'll talk about that in just a second. But I want to take a lot of positives from yesterday, because it's so easy for us to come away from Goodison Park last night and be gutted, be devastated. I couldn't open my mouth from the minute I left my seat to the minute I got home. The instant match reaction was probably the first, however many words I said since leaving the game, because my jaw was honestly on the floor. Walking home from the ground, I was so stunned. I was so shocked, because even I didn't think Everton could go and do that. Even I thought at 93.5 minutes, 2-0 up, cruising, Niasi's, getting the ball, and he's chasing down two of their defenders. He's got, Calvert-Lewin next to him. Even I thought, even Everton can't fuck this up. We're comfortable in this game and we're going to win it. Nias, makes the mistake, obviously, falls on his arse, which is proof as to why he shouldn't be anywhere near an Everton shirt, to be honest with you. He's rejecting all of these championship loans here, there and everywhere. If he doesn't want to leave the football club, then we're just going to have to accept that, and we're going to have to wait until his contract runs out, but he shouldn't be anywhere near the first team. And I hope that Carlo Ancelotti has seen that performance yesterday from him and made that decision. But I was still in absolute disbelief how we could capitulate like we did, and we could concede 2 late goals. One thing we should have knew coming into this game is that Newcastle are a team that don't give up. They don't stop working, they don't stop battling, they don't stop fighting. They literally proved that less than 4 days ago at the weekend against Chelsea, where they got absolutely peppered for the entire game, a little bit like yesterday, but they didn't stop fighting, they didn't give up, and they ultimately won the game from scoring in the last seconds. Again, yesterday, we dominated that game of football. Like I said, it's disappointing because it was arguably our best game of football and our easiest game of football this season. Again, not often do you sit at Goodison Park and think, right, we've won this easily, let's go out, let's get another 2, 3, 4. But it almost felt like that type of feeling yesterday, where we were sitting in Goodison Park and we were thinking, I'm disappointed Keane's going off because we won't get him to see him score another one. But maybe Don might get another one, or maybe, Yerry Mina might get one from a corner. Obviously it wasn't to be, and that's something in itself that we need to work on, is killing games off properly, because it's very, very clear at this football club, Everton football, any other football club in England, in Wales football, 2-0 going into the last 10 minutes of a game would be a dead score, and it'd be done and dusted. Even if you conceded 1, in the last 5 minutes, you definitely wouldn't concede 2. You would not concede 2. Whereas Everton, like I said, it's got to be 4 or 5 for you to sit back and go, we may potentially be safe in this game. Going into the last 5 minutes of a game of football, if Everton aren't at least 4-0 up, then I'm not thinking we're safe here, because I've seen us concede 2 or 3 in literally a minute's time when we done that yesterday. But like I said, I want to take a lot of the positives from the game, because there was a lot of positives. Like I said, it was genuinely a good performance from, pretty much, it was at least a decent average performance from, maybe 60% of the squad, and it was a good performance from the other 40% of the squad. I thought Moise Kean, listen, I want to talk about Moise Kean. He's the title of the live team, and I think he absolutely deserves it, because he come under quite a lot of criticism after the game against West Ham United at the weekend. He didn't really do an awful lot. Obviously, he started the game through Richarlison's injury, and a lot of people were stating at the end of it that he didn't take his opportunity. He mightn't be good enough yet for the first team. All quite valid points after watching his performance against West Ham, because he didn't do an awful lot substantially. He obviously he worked hard and he got tracked back and he won tackles and stuff, but he didn't really beat many. He couldn't get forward. He couldn't get out any opportunities. Obviously, he didn't really have many opportunities on goal. So I think a lot of people were starting to worry, and maybe did look at it after the game on Saturday and thought, what, maybe this kid potentially isn't good enough to be in the first team. Maybe he potentially needs a little bit of time away. But I want to give him absolutely massive credit yesterday. I honestly thought, and I know some people will say Bernard, and some people might say Mason Holgate, who again, 2 players who I thought were quite, were good yesterday, really good. But I honestly think Moise Kean was the best player on the pitch in an Everton shirt yesterday. For the time he was on the pitch, he didn't stop working his absolute arse off. Not just his finish, which in itself is a really, really good finish, by the way. He takes it down well. It's a fantastic ball by Bernard. Like I said, I missed it initially. I seen it on the highlights this morning after I'd done the instant match reaction. It's a fantastic chip ball by Bernard. He takes it really, really well. He touches it so it's just behind him. Sorry, I was just tweeting Steve off. He touches it so it's just behind him. The defenders run forward, and then his effort's really, really good. It's powerful, it's low, it's under the goalkeeper. If you're being critical of the goalkeeper, maybe he should have done a bit better, but I don't really give a shit. It's a fantastic finish, and you could see exactly how much that goal meant to the lad. You could see in his celebration, you could see in his face, you could see in his body language. I've never seen that dance move, is the whoa. I've never seen that dance move done so viciously in my entire life. You could see how much that goal meant to him as a player, as a person. person as a human being, the confidence that it gave him. Not only that, before the goal, like I said, he was working his bollocks off, he was getting forward, he was chasing down. It was the type of performance that Evertonians will absolutely love. We might sit there and, and say he mightn't be ready to be the next best thing yet, and he might still need a lot of work doing, and maybe, he still needs to sort of work on the training ground on a couple of things. But one thing Evertonians will absolutely adore seeing every single week is the type of work rate that kid put in yesterday. He was bollocksed by 60 minutes, and that's because he chased every single ball. Every single time their centre-halves had the ball, he was on their toes. The keeper had the ball, he was on his toes. He was forcing them to make mistakes. And not only that, not only the work rate, not only the effort, not only the fight, but when he had the ball, he was using it really, really well as well. What we seen on Saturday against West Ham with Moise Kean was he genuinely receive the ball facing our goal, because he'd almost get sucked towards it. He'd want the ball, because he was probably a little bit frustrated that he wasn't getting it, so he'd get sucked towards it, and he'd find himself with his back towards the opposition goal, facing our goal with the ball, and he could only really then go backwards by either running backwards or passing it backwards. Whereas yesterday, he was picking the ball up in the right areas, he was running forward, he was taking his man on, he was winning fouls, he was showing his pace, he was showing his strength, he was showing his urgency, and he was getting forward. And not only that, like I said, the goal is absolutely fantastic, and it was by far his best game in an Everton shirt, and for me it was the best game. He was the best player on the pitch in an Everton shirt yesterday, probably arguably the best player on the pitch in any shirt, to be perfectly honest with you. Obviously after the West Ham game, we knew that Richarlison was going to be out for the West Ham game, and Carlo Ancelotti first stated that Richarlison may have been back for yesterday, and after the West Ham game, I think there was a lot of Evertonians that maybe potentially, even subconsciously just thought, what, maybe Richarlison does need to come back in because this kid, isn't doing it. I think Moise Kean proved yesterday that he can absolutely be in this Everton starting 11 going forward. Not only, like I said, a fantastic performance, the work rate was there, he was unbelievable, and we've all been saying for weeks and weeks and months since he come in, all this kid needs is his first Premier League goal. He just needs to get off the mark and he'll be absolutely fucking flying. And what did he do yesterday? He got off the mark, a fantastic finish. His work rate was second to none. His use of the ball, his use in possession, his winning fouls, and getting, buying himself fouls in the correct areas. He was absolutely outstanding, and the performance, the goal, will do him, a world of confidence. And obviously we don't play now until a week on Saturday. We've got a week's rest, which again makes yesterday's result, a little bit more painful, because we could have gone into, this sort of break, 8th and 8th position. We were 2-0 up, sitting in 8th position, a couple of points off, the top 5, top 6. Now we're sitting in 11th, 12th, because, they crawled the point back, and Arsenal are now above us because they got the point. Tottenham as well, we could have been above. But it will give him an absolute amount of confidence, and hopefully, Richarlison is back after the international break, and hopefully Richarlison is back into the team for the Watford game a week on Saturday. But I would honestly like to see Richarlison maybe back on the wing, because I just don't think Theo Walcott has done anything of note over the last 2 or 3 weeks. I'd like to see Richarlison back on the wing, and Moise Kean given that confidence again, and put him back up front. Before we go into the live comments, I just want to talk about Dominic Calvert-Lewin for a second. If you're enjoying the team, by the way, so far, please do hit that like button. It means a massive amount to me. If you're new to the channel as well, please do subscribe. Calvert-Lewin again getting another goal yesterday, taking his tally to 10 for this season. Again, another really good finish, another good hard working performance by Dom, the type of performance that even if he didn't get the goal, you'd praise. He was working hard, he was getting himself about, he was winning headers, he was using his body, he was using his strength, he was using his ability, and he did get the goal, and it was a fantastic finish. He took it really well. He bent it strangely with his left foot from the the left hand side across the goalkeeper. Again, maybe a situation where the goalkeeper could have done better. I don't really care, but it's a fantastic finish, and again, really massive for Dominic Calvert-Lewin's confidence. Obviously, Carlo Ancelotti spoke midweek about how Gareth Southgate's been monitoring Calvert-Lewin, and how he could be potentially on his way to the Euros in the summer. Whether we like that or not, I think he more than deserves that opportunity. And like I said, another fantastic game for Dom. I thought both strikers were absolutely outstanding yesterday. And they were two of the players on the pitch that I genuinely felt sorry for, leaving Goodison Park when we capitulate in such a way. Dom's come out and apologised about it, today on social media. And I think the general consensus from the entirety of the fan base is that, we're feeling, sorry for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, because it simply wasn't anything to do with him. And him, Moise Kean, Bernard, arguably, they done their job. And they were let down by scrappy defending and absolutely shocking decision making and a lack of composure in the last, minute of a game of football. Let's dive into the live comments. Sorry, I've been rambling. Eugene says Everton need to drop Jordan Pickford for Martin Stekelenburg. I just don't think we do. I just don't think Martin Stekelenburg is anywhere near the level that we need going forward. And yes, Jordan Pickford, there needs to be a conversation, and yes, he needs more competition, and maybe he's not good enough to take us forward in the long term, but I don't necessarily think he was solely to blame for yesterday, and I don't think Martin Stekelenburg is any good whatsoever. So Kundazuki Kennedy says we are cursed. We are. JP says A can't play great football. Colin needs to stop trying to go defensive in the 75th minute. Best form of defence is attack. We deserve more. I understand that and I agree with that, but I was thinking this today, and hindsight's a fantastic thing, isn't it? And I was sitting there today and I was thinking, you know what? I was thinking about the substitutions, ready to talk about it tonight, and I thought, you know what? Maybe in hindsight, which, like I said, is a fantastic thing, Carlo Ancelotti may have been better bringing Michael Kean on, let's per se, instead of Nias, or maybe making a little bit more of a defensive substitution and going 5 at the back rather than bringing Seamus Coleman on, who again I didn't think done anything of note when he come on. But on 75 minutes, 65 minutes, 70 minutes in that game of football, if I'd have seen Michael Kean getting ready to come on, I'd have been absolutely fuming, because at that point in the game I wanted us to go for the throat. I wanted us to get another 2, get another 3, carry on scoring, get the confidence up, let's put in a boss performance. So I'd have been disappointed, and don't get me wrong, I wasn't over the moon to see Nias, because I know the lad's got no quality whatsoever, and he's there to run around, and that's about it. And the fact that he's on however much money he's on a week just to run around is an absolute disgrace. But like I said, if he'd have gone defensive, would fans have been, it's alright in hindsight saying, well, he could have gone defensive and then would have won the game. Obviously, they wouldn't, if he'd have gone defensive and would have won the game, this wouldn't be the conversation. We'd be sitting here saying, a fantastic win, brilliant, can't wait, move forward. But he might have brought Michael Kean on, and Michael Kean might have made a ricket, and then we might have been saying, why not bring an attacker on and go forward, which I think is your point you're making there, JP. It's interesting, isn't it? David says, Steck as a hologram, we need another keeper at the centre defender. The subs were shocking, fair point. Hernandez says, why did Davis keep getting into the left winger role? He has gone there in the last 3 matches and we lose control. Not even bad Marvin Davis, but just don't understand. Gordon needs to go in. I'd have rather Gordon gone in. Tom Davis is not a left winger, is he? Let's be perfectly honest. He really isn't a left winger. PG Danny says, those Geordies piss me off. Cam, good luck for the future. You legend. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Do you think Everton need to drop Jordan Pickford? No, because there's no competition, purely. If Jonas Leisel comes in and is an absolute, even just a decent keeper who does the basics well, then potentially drop Jordan Pickford. But if he's another hologram like Martin Stekelenburg, then I just don't see the point in it. Lava says, do you think Carlo was keeping his emotions to himself in the interview with regards to the criticism of players? They switched off, play to the whistle, potentially, and I agree, the 100% did switch off. Hernandez says, Holgate stopped paying attention for the second goal, didn't attempt to get the ball in the air, tough because he was amazing with the rest of the match. Spot on. ABC says, the team will believe after that they can win the World Cup, probably. David says, I hope so. The people's eyebrow must have got nuts in the changing room. I can imagine, mate, I can imagine. ABC also says, if we drop Pickford, we need a top keeper. Spot on. Miles says, I'm happy for Moise Kean's like partnership with Dom is great. I agree. ABC says, I think Milan's number 2 is a free agent, must be shite. I'd go for Milan's number 1, but whether he'd come or not is a different question. Lavin says, I'll admit the subs were very much. ABC says, Moise Kean lives for goals. He does. Hernandez says, would you pay the money to keep Sadiba after the last couple of matches? Seems completely lost for the last couple of matches and no idea how to defend. I actually didn't think Sadiba done, that bad yesterday, to be honest. He struggled at times in the game, and he did struggle to get his foot on the ball, and he gave the ball away a couple of times. I thought he won the ball back a couple of times as well. He has struggled for the last 2 weeks, and I don't know whether the club will be looking at that as a potential move in the summer, or whether they prefer bringing John Joe Kenny back and maybe giving Sadiba back to Monaco. I don't know. I up until 2 or 3 weeks ago, I'd have said 100% sign Sadiba needs to come in, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm having a few reservations now. Lavid says, subs were surprising, but play to the whistle. Spot on. David says, what's the 400 million coming from if we shift 8 players now? If we shift 8 players, Colin may have 100 million. Miles says, a player you would sell right now. Right at this minute, probably Sigurdsson. Gylfi Sigurdsson. And that's not really fair because he didn't play yesterday, but whatever. ABC says Stevie's passing is like that. Gibson, excellent distribution, but where is he? Also lacks awareness at times. ABC says the keeper is the last resort, blame the other players. I agree, we have to blame everybody. Where are we? Wayne one says, how do we know if our backup keeper Jonas Lersel is not good enough? We have not seen him. Just saying he got relegated with Huddersfield doesn't mean much. Just saying, mate. I agree. I actually agree with you. And Mr. Titliest says, the club is bloody cursed and I'm bloody sick and tired of it. It's never going to change. It does feel like that, doesn't it? It does feel like that. But anyway, yeah, you know, like I said yesterday, I want to talk about the substitutions because they've come under, Carlo Ancelotti's come under a lot of criticism over the last 24 hours or so. Well, not 24 hours, over the last, 15 hours, 12 hours, whatever, or so, over his substitutions. A lot of people seeming to think that bringing on Oumar Niasse, bringing on Tom Davies, just simply shouldn't have happened, and even bringing on Seamus Coleman didn't help the team whatsoever. I see both sides of that. I see the reasons to why fans believe it, the substitutions were poor, and I see the side of fans to believe that at the end of the day, no matter who he brought on, they should have been able to keep a 2-0 lead with 30 seconds to go. Listen, it's not ideal bringing somebody like Oumar Niasse on, who not only do we know, but the opposition also know that, he's not going to give anything other than he'll run around. If he's got the ball at his feet, he'll fall over it. If he's not got the ball at his feet, he'll chase. And potentially, maybe sometimes you could argue that works in some games when opposition are tired and you just need to chase down and you just need to work hard. But yesterday, that wasn't the case. I would have preferred to have seen Anthony Gordon come on. If you're going to take somebody like Bernard off, who's a pacey winger, who's not afraid to get forward, who actually I thought was a lot better when he sort of adopted that number 10-esque role, centre attacking midfield role yesterday. We've been, saying for ages, ever since he come in, really, that we want to see Bernard in that number 10 role, and the fact that, it's a little bit unfair that Gylfi Sigurdsson's constantly put there, but Bernard isn't. Now, obviously, Carlo Ancelotti hasn't gone with the typical formation that would have a number 10 role in, shall we say, since he's been at the football club. But Bernard did sort of transition himself there yesterday, and I thought he done really, really well when he did play there. Obviously, he got the assist from Moise Kean in a similar position, and he was playing some good through balls. He was getting himself in the right positions. But if you're going to bring somebody like Bernard off, I would have preferred to have seen an Anthony Gordon. Now, I understand, like I said, that he just simply wanted legs to run around and to potentially just throw himself into players and win stupid fouls or get stupid fouls, which is why he brought Niasse on, and maybe it wasn't the situation for Gordon. Maybe I potentially think, and I probably think, actually not potentially, that Carlo Ancelotti thought when he was bringing Oumar Niasse on that it was game over, and Oumar Niasse was literally just to come on so that Moise Kean could get a standing ovation and that he could run around for a bit. I think he probably wasn't thinking of the eventuality that we could concede to, and that we may need somebody with a bit more quality than Niasse. But I would have liked to have seen Anthony Gordon there, and it's crazy, isn't it? Like I said, I don't really know who to blame for yesterday, to be honest with you. We can sit here, we can blame Ancelotti. It seems like Ancelotti and Jordan Pickford have took a fair share of the blame for yesterday, but like I said, if we're going to blame Jordan Pickford, we have to blame Tom Davies, we have to blame Morgan Schneiderlin, we have to blame Mason Holgate, we have to blame every single Everton player that was within that box at that point when that ball come over the top. When we were 2-1 up with 15 seconds to go, we knew that, firstly, like I said earlier on this team, it's a disgraceful decision by Fabian Delph to just welly it up. Fabian Delph spends his most of his time on the football pitch hitting balls off the pitch. The one time he puts it on somebody's head, it's on a Newcastle defender's head, who then puts it back in, and we concede to lose 2 points, to drop 2 points, which we realistically massively needed yesterday. Fabian Delph doesn't, he was brought in. I'm not just going to go Fabian Delph, and I'm not just going to, attack him personally, attack him as the only player that was at fault yesterday, because he wasn't the only one at fault. But Fabian Delph was brought in to bring that coolness, that calmness, that winning mentality, that, that being there, done that, knows how to play football correctly, knows, the ins and outs of it. And yesterday, I think, was another time, there's been multiple of these times over the last recent weeks where Fabian Delph has proven that doesn't really matter how many titles he's won, doesn't really matter the team that he played in, for Manchester City under Pep Guardiola. He still hasn't got that football and brain to go, actually, I'm not just going to welly this all the way up the pitch straight at their centre-back. I'm going to welly it out in the corner flag, or I'm going to hit it straight into one of the corners to make sure that they get a throw in, but they get it deep in the corner, or I'm going to volley it out the fucking stadium and then tell the ball boy, keep hold of that ball for 15, 20, 30 seconds, mate. He didn't. It just seemed really, really rash. And like I said in an instant match reaction, what I put down that last final 30 seconds to a minute of the game yesterday was mentality and composure. There was no composure whatsoever on that football pitch, whether that's in Jordan Pickford, whether that's in Fabian Delph, whether that's in Theo Walcott, it doesn't matter. There was no composure in that last final 2 minutes on that football pitch in a blue shirt. There wasn't. Even the players that had a good game, Mason Holgate, Calvert-Lewin, you could argue Morgan Schneiderlin, there was no composure whatsoever from any of them. And again, it's a mentality issue. For me, it really, really is a mentality issue. I said it yesterday, there's no way Newcastle would have lost those 2 points if they were in our position. If Newcastle were 2-0 up with 30 seconds to go, they wouldn't have conceded two in that space of time. And I'm not blaming Ancelotti, and I'm not saying Newcastle are better than us or they're in a better position, because they're very clearly not better than us. We dominated them for 90 minutes of the game. We were much the better side. We absolutely battered them, and we should have been 4, 5, 6-0 up. We hit the post. We had multiple opportunities saved. We had multiple chances that we didn't make the most of. But for me, it's just like I said, it's the composure of the team, and we made a stupid mistake. We allowed them to get 1 goal back, which again is a ball that seems to be bouncing in the area for 15 minutes, not dealt with. They get a goal back, and instead of settling down then and eliminating, sort of extinguishing, if you like, that emotion of shit, what's going to happen now? What if we concede another one? Eliminate that emotion and just go, bang, settle down. That's not going to happen again. We're going to punt the ball in the corner. We're going to, make stupid fouls. We're going to fall over. We're going to volley the ball out of play. We're going to do everything that we can to make sure that whether we foul, whether we do it illegally in terms of the rules, we're going to do everything we can to ensure that Newcastle cannot get back into our box. But we don't. We literally say to them, here, have another go there. Let's see if you can make it 2-2. The ball comes into the box. Again, it's scrambled. Jordan Pickford, literally, I've seen the video today. Jordan Pickford is everywhere. He attempts to make a save on his left post. He then makes he dives for a ball that ended up hitting a defender, and then he finds himself behind the line, and a strike that's hit straight at him ultimately goes over the line, because when he saves it, he is over the line himself. And like I said, I think there does need to be a conversation on the goalkeeper position and a conversation on Jordan Pickford, but I don't necessarily think he was fully to blame for yesterday's result and yesterday's capitulation in the last minute. I blame the fact that seems to be no composure, there seems to be no leadership, there seems to be no experience in this team, even with the players that we've got. Fabian Delph, who's got mounds of experience, various other players, Theo Walcott, Yerry Mina, Jordan Pickford, Seamus Coleman, all played in World Cups, all of that experience, but when they're on the pitch, it literally seems like nobody's got any experience in that situation whatsoever. And if you've played for Everton, you should have more experience than anybody in that situation, being an Everton player, because it happens to us more often than not. And that's simply what I put it down to. Yes, potentially Carlo Ancelotti's substitutions could have been different and might have changed the game, but that's all in hindsight. Yes, Jordan Pickford, if we had a better keeper, obviously to challenge him and to come on, then he mightn't have been there to make that mistake. But again, that's in hindsight, isn't it? I just think yesterday there was no composure on that pitch, and I honestly think Carlo Ancelotti could have brought Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, Kaká, Pele, God, Zinedine Zidane on yesterday for Everton, and would have still conceded 2 goals in the last 2 minutes, because that was just the mentality and the lack of composure at the football club. And that's not just me. That's not just me backing Carlo Ancelotti because I'm afraid to criticise him, or I think he's immune to criticism. He's not immune to criticism, and I think ultimately bringing on Tom Davis and maybe pushing him to the left-hand side is the wrong decision. Bringing on Oumar Niasse is the wrong decision. Oumar Niasse shouldn't be playing for Everton's first team, shouldn't be anywhere near Everton's first team, regardless of his work rate, regardless of how hard he tries. But, like I said, every single player on that pitch yesterday should have been able to keep a lead for 30 seconds, and they didn't. If you're enjoying the scene, by the way, please do hit that like button. It means a massive amount to me. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe as well. It only takes a second. Like I said, there is a lot of positives to take out of the game though, and I want to move on to the positives. We'll dive into the live comments for a minute, and then I will move on to the positives, because there are a lot of positives to take. ABC says we're not cursed with a negative psychology that stems from 25 years of stagnation. Very interesting way of looking at it. David says no midfield, Delphin, Schneiderlin, Gylfi, Davis, Kabam. We don't know what he'll be like, and Gomez, we don't know what he'll be like when he gets back. Fair point. ABC says wins breed wins, as does losing. And he also says, top to bottom, losing his form. That needs to change. Spot on. Whamey says, calm lad, how's everyone doing? I'm not too bad, mate. Hope you're doing well yourself. ABC says, Everton doing Everton stuff. Exactly, literally Everton that. Whamey says, on the plus side, Moise was good. We saw a bit of what we paid for there, and probably best game I've seen. Us play let down at the end, unfortunately. Exactly, couldn't agree more. Mac and Cheese says, lad, even Newcastle gave up on it. 92nd minute, and they were passing around the back, not looking to get a consolation goal, and not exactly. And we literally handed it to them. Whamey says, hit the likes and support the channel, you filthy animals. If you could hit the like button, it'd mean a massive amount to me. ABC says, how old is Moise? How long did DCL take to come good? Moise Kean's 19. It took DCL, 2.5 years to settle down at the football club, so we still got a lot of time. Moise Kean to fully settle down, and I think what we seen yesterday was a glimpse of what's to come, and it was a fantastic performance by him. Mr. Diddley says, Bernard was the best player in the pitch by a mile, ridiculous taking him off. ABC says 19 Tarlid. Zoo says, you say we can't stop Pickford, like you said, can't sack Silver, and nobody was out there. Duncan was, you can't keep shit because there is nobody out there. That's the worst football talk ever. Maybe, but ask yourself, to any Evertonian, and again, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and that's why I'm here, and that's why everybody else is here, and that's completely fair enough. But, again, fair enough. Warranted, if you don't think Jordan Pickford's good enough, and you think Jordan Pickford needs to come out of this Everton side, completely fair enough. Let's say that the board come out now and say, we're not buying a goalkeeper this January, and we're not buying a goalkeeper this summer. Ask yourself this question, would you rather see Martin Stecklenberg in goal than Jordan Pickford or Jonas Lersel? And if you would, fair enough. I just potentially wouldn't. If we can go out and buy another goalkeeper, obviously bring them in, and not only could they potentially replace Pickford, but there's that competition that we so desperately lack at the club. David says 19. ABC says finally broke his cherry. Watch them flow now. I hope so, mate. Danny says Keane's rubbish. Disagree with you. ABC says cherries in the Prem, not a small thing. ABC says 19. Hardcastle. Wayne says with one. ABC says, come on, you Blues. Wayne says, I don't understand how anyone could think Moise Kean is not good enough for our first team. He's 19, needs time, for God's sake. How would you even be on the bench at Juventus without huge talent? Fair point. Where are we? I've lost track. I've got loads of comments here. ABC says, Moise Kean's a legend. ABC also says he gets placed at Juve International with his Kean. Whamey says, we played through the middle some last night, so you start to see what Moise is good at exactly, and that's when Bernard sort of went into that number 10 role and looked really, really positive. ABC says exactly. Lavrid says, Richard Wright, aka Richard Wrong, said, the next big thing for England, do you think Pickford is turning out to be the same? Maybe. Richard Wright definitely wasn't the next big thing for England, was he? Whamey says, kids strong and rapid, caused problems for them last night. ABC says DCL. Chava says Everton's defence is trash. It was for the last 30 seconds yesterday, mate. David says Pickford or Joe Hart. Whamey says, no, it's okay. Our mentality needs adjusting and learn to close games out. We get nervy at the end of the games, lose focus, start doing match here. But how long has that been the case for? Lavin says, how would you accommodate Richarlison if Calvert-Lewin and Kean keep up this form? He goes on simply on the right-hand side, where he performed well previously. And instead of Theo Walcott, or you play a straight 3 up front. David says, Billy Big Bollocks attitude. Gallagher says, Neto, Barca keeper we should sign. ABC says 4-3-3, DCL, Richarlison, Kean. Yeah, I agree. Whamey says, time to the shop window. Nias just deluded himself nicely. David says 70k a week for my arse. He's out of contract in June anyway. ABC says when Nias scores a winner, he's a prince. Otherwise, he looks like somebody who doesn't make the bench. And Tuesday says Everton need a new goalkeeper. Hard to disagree with you. But yeah, like I said, I want to pick out some of the positives from yesterday, because there was a lot of positives from yesterday. Like we said at the start of the team, Moise Kean's performance was a big positive. A fantastic performance by him. His best performance in an Everton shirt by a country mile. Really good goal. Really well taken goal. And not only that, but his work rate constantly throughout the game, getting himself about, winning the ball back, using his strength, using his pace, knocking it past players as well, winning fouls. Really good performance by him, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing him play against Watford. I think he's done more than enough to deserve a start in that Watford game a week on Saturday. Another positive, obviously, I thought Morgan Schneiderlin come in, obviously, for the first time in a couple of weeks. The midfield has genuinely been Delphin Davis for the last couple of weeks, whereas I thought Morgan come in and I thought he'd done well. He comes under a lot of criticism, and maybe, it is warranted a lot of the time, but Again, I'm a big believer in giving praise when praise is due. And I thought Morgan Schneiderlin stepped in yesterday. He done a job. He done what he needs to do. He got himself about. Yes, okay, at times in the game he made mistakes and potentially should have done a lot better. But he's the best that we've got at the minute. He's not a good enough player to be playing in a top 6 side or to be playing in a European side. But we are not that at the minute. And like I said, you've got to give praise when praise is due. And I thought he played quite well. Again, Mason Horgate in the centre of the defence. Taking away the last minute or so of the game, which was, I think, shambolic from everybody. I thought Mason had another really solid, demanding game, winning the ball, bringing the ball out, using his body again, using his area ability, starting to look like a real leader in this squad. Obviously, he's very young, so there's still a long way to go before we can have that conversation, but he's starting to show some of the signs of that, and I was really impressed with Mason. Same with Bernard, obviously, like I said, started well on the wing, started to fade a little bit like the game against Brighton, but then as soon as he moved into the number 10 position, I thought he was absolutely outstanding. He was getting himself about, and initially yesterday, all I seen in the instant match reaction was, Bernard, where did he play on the wing? When he played on the wing, he didn't do an awful lot, but I just totally disregarded the fact that he moved into the centre of the park and was excellent there. So, there are a lot of positives to take out the game. Like I said, it was probably our best performance all season, to be perfectly honest with you, and that's what makes it as heartbreaking and as hard to take as any, really. It's not like we were absolutely shite. We would score 2 goals luckily, and then they come back and you could say it was a fair result. It wasn't a fair result whatsoever. Newcastle didn't deserve anything out of the game. They didn't deserve anything, like somebody said rightly in the comments before. Even they, had given up on the 92nd minute. They were passing it round the back. They didn't really care. But, again, the lack of composure, the weak mentality of the football club, and the stupid mistakes has led to us dropping 2 really important points. We were 2-0 up in that game, sitting in 8th position in the Premier League, only a couple of points away from the European places, top 5, top 6, etc., above the likes of Arsenal, Tottenham, Newcastle, Palace, and then we can see 2 goals like that, and all of a sudden we're pretty much back to where we started this time yesterday, and that just isn't good enough, and that needs to be ironed out, and hopefully it's a one-off for Carlo Ancelotti, and hopefully we never see anything quite like that again, because it really wasn't good enough, was it? And there does need to be a conversation about the goalkeeper position. There does need to be a long talk about that, and obviously we haven't got a game this weekend, so potentially I'll have that conversation on Friday. We'll talk about the goalkeeper position, we'll talk about what positions need to be strengthened. I don't feel like any will be strengthened in this transfer window, but what definitely needs to be strengthened in the summer, and we'll have a long, in-depth chat about that, because I think it's definitely needed. But there are positives to take from what was overall a good performance up until the last minute yesterday, and we just sort of have to move on and forget, don't we, really, even though it is tough to do that. It's even tougher to do that now that we haven't got a game for over a week. We could have gone into a game on Saturday and rectified ourselves and won that by 2 or 3, and then, everything would have been alright, but we haven't got a game for over a week, so we're going to have to sit on this now until, a week on Saturday. If you're not enjoying the scene, by the way, so far, please do hit that like button. It means a massive amount to me. William says, poor T-Rex. ABC says, Pickford off his line, never lol. Lord says, if only he had longer arms. It's got much to do with his arms, to be honest. It's more his brain. ABC says, if my copites wouldn't sub to blue channels. ABC says, head melted. Wormy says, as Cam said, there's some responsibility that can be spread about everyone in the team. I agree. ABC says, takes more than one to be a team. It really certainly does. David says, you can't get a foul from falling over the ball. I think Niasse just fucking fell over himself, as he does every time he comes on for Everton, and every time he plays, he just falls over himself, and that's why he's nowhere near good enough to play for this football club. He's nowhere near good enough to play in this league, never mind for this football club. ABC says, take more than one to be a team. Where he says, a lot of bad decisions by a lot of people. We need to focus until the end of games. We do. ABC says, win together, lose together. I agree 100%. Where says, what if the ball is malicious, Dave? And Where says, VAR should give the ball a red card. Where says, went in 2-footed. Tuesday says, Everton have a multi-million-pound players. What is going on? I ask myself the same question every time I go to sleep, mate. Dave says he could have hit it into the corner flag, and the malicious flag would have smacked it into the box. Yeah, he could have, and that's what we should have done, smacked it straight into the corner flag, and been done with it, but never the case, is it? He says, what's going on? Everton, American wrestler, don't really know that. Where he says, hit the like, folks, and support the Mighty Blues. If you could, that would mean a massive amount to me. I've just nearly choked. Wayne says, Pickford has proven inconsistent. A certain team had an issue with their goalie, and both world-class goalie and have improved. Do Everton need to be ruthless and look for another keeper? Really good point, and I couldn't agree more, to be honest with you, mate. And yeah, I agree. I think we maybe do need to be a little bit ruthless, and maybe we do need to look elsewhere in the summer, because Jordan Pickford's performances have been inconsistent, to say the least, as have a lot of the other players in our team. Theo Walcott's performances have been inconsistent, Fabian Del's performances have been inconsistent. So it's again, we sat midway through last season when Marco Silva was in charge and talked about how consistency and lack of consistency is killing our football club, and we're still in the same situation a year later. ABC says, cheers, can't come on you Blues. Wayne says, Wayne, don't compare us to them, that's mental. David says, how does a pro keeper find himself behind the goal line? It's easy to say that, I feel, and I understand the point, but when you watch the whole video, he is, I don't know, maybe I'm just trying to defend him, but he does seem to get himself about and maybe just lose track of where he is. But again, I fully understand the point that people are making. ABC says exactly. ABC's pick for that. Louis says, hello lad, hello Louis, hope you're doing well. David says 3 wins for safety. Where are we? I've got loads of comments here, 3 wins for safety. Louis says, place to sign. Don't know yet, to be honest with you, mate. And a creative midfielder. ABC says Pickford needs to grow up. Louis says plays to sell. Where'd you start, mate? Dave says Mbappe. Eugene says, think Everton will be in Europe next season. I really don't know. She says hopefully. Peter. Chris says, hi mate, hi Chris, hope you're doing well. 1817 says, yes Cam, sorry I'm late, no worries mate, no worries, thanks for joining. Tuesday says, best Everton player is Dominic Calvert-Lewin, definitely is at the minute, I agree. Lewis says, if Pickford was in front of the goal line, he would have saved the last goal, he would have, no disagreement. Wayne says, safe Cam, Pickford and Ancelotti subs to blame, fair point. Good source says, hey Cam, another result was really frustrating after a great display, but really positive with how we played and we can move on with what went wrong last night. The fundamentals were there. I agree with you mate. Wayne says, hey Wayne, I'm not going to talk about Lord of Decay because he just ignored him basically. Wayne says, holla, how are you? I'm not too bad, how are you? Eugene says we need Duncan Ferguson to get over time and to play for the club again, potentially. ABC says we need to kill games off, 100% I agree. Wayne says, how come we ain't got rid of anyone yet? So the transfer market should be more active. It's hard to disagree with that. Wayne says, I'm good mate, think it's a bit more than that though. Dean and Tom messing about in the corner, Delph booting the ball, Holgate heading from for the corner, Newcastle taking advantage of us being mental. I agree, again, rash decisions, no composure, no sort of thought of let me just put my foot on the ball and use it correctly, just absolute rashness for the entire of the last 2 minutes. David says, Cam talk faster, this is getting as slow as Gylfi, sorry mate. Gunter says, rather play well and draw with all of the positives than scrape a win by playing dire football. We can work on what went wrong, it might be the best thing that could happen for our learning curve, hopefully the best thing since the derby. But I agree 100%. Survivor says, what do you think of Carlos Ancelotti's reference to losing the Champions League final against Liverpool? I don't think he particularly meant it in terms of say I lost against Liverpool. I think he was probably using it as a little bit of a motivation for the players to say, we can come back, we can get back, and we can improve. And I agree with the point. When he says, hey, just late. Tuesday says, Everton need players who want to play for Everton, spots on. Jess says, hi, been watching the whole time, just kept quiet. David says, nah, I'll leave that to Jess. This is sarcasm is my strong point. ABC says, exactly. Eugene says, we need players to play for the Everton shape. We do. Wayne says, P-Rex also has tiny brains. David says, we need to rebuild. Number one. David says, or to move. Austria, we could win that league. I don't even think we could win that league, mate. Eugene says, Everton need to get back to the Dogs of War and start winning matches again. We do. Gord says, that was a great performance till the end. It was. Big thanks to Gort as well. Gort kindly met me before the game yesterday and provided me with a Boss little scarf from the Minnesota Football Club Supporters Club. So big thanks for that. Kept me warm yesterday. Definitely kept me warm walking home as well because me face was on the floor after that. So big thanks to you. And I hope you're enjoying your time in Liverpool. ABC says yes. ABC says Moise was boring but he was stubborn as fuck. Come Goodison to be okay. CK get me a point. ABC's mentality, I agree. He says no one slow as Gylfi. ABC says lucky to get a point. Gylfi's just out of position and out of his comfort zone potentially. Wayne says, is it me or does Luca Dean been shit all season? Seems Baines is still better. Maybe potentially. But But I still think Moise Kean's struggling with an injury. David says, if it the like just so YouTube hates that you kill when it comes to dinner. Thank you very much. If you could hit the like button, it mean a massive amount to me. William says, what do you mean in the Premier League? And Lord of Decay, again, I'm not going to comment because it's just irrelevant. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's live stream. If you have enjoyed, please do hit that like button. It only takes a second. If you're new to the channel as well, please do subscribe. Literally, like I said, that only takes a couple of seconds as well. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at MightyBluesYT to keep up to date with all of the latest Everton news and information. We'll be back live on Friday at about 7 o'clock. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about what we need in this transfer window. We haven't got a game now until the 1st of February. Obviously, the transfer window will be shut on the 1st of February. I don't see Everton doing any substantial business whatsoever. We may potentially bring in a loan, but you know, again, I'm struggling to see that as well, to be perfectly honest with you. But we're going to talk on Friday anyway about what positions need strengthening. Not really so much in January because I don't think we'll do an awful lot of business, but more so in the summer. And yeah, it should be a really, really good in-depth team. We'll talk about the goalkeeper position. We'll talk about midfield. We'll talk about our front centre-back as well. So don't forget to join us at 7 PM on Friday for that one. Goodsoul says, rimmed at work again. Thanks, Everton. Me too. Wim says, you'll be comfortably in the Iceland League too. ABC says, Baines over Schneiderlin or Delph. Eugene says, see you about the toffees. Thank you very much, Eugene. Really appreciate that. Wim says, easy folks, have a good one. Thank you very much, Wimmy. You too. Goodsoul says, cheers, Cam. Cheers, Goodsoul. Really appreciate that. 1878 says, Cam in a bit, mate. Missed a comment there as well, I think. 1878 says, how long have you been doing the Mighty Blues? Since August 2018. So, what's that? I don't know. 2 years in August, whatever that match works out as. 1870 says, Cam in a bit, mate. And Wayne says, Sam, mate, have a good week. No game for a while, not asked. Myself, won't miss it. There you go. I think that's probably, after last night, the general consensus surrounding Evertonians. Anyway, that's going to do it today. Please hit the like button if you have enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. It only takes a second. Jess says, bye, everyone. See you later, Jess. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.